So, welcome back to another video. It's been a while. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you enjoyed the games yesterday. And yeah, I think I can say that it was a good showing from all the teams, and the results came out pretty much what you would expect if you watch my videos, because the Washington game is, and against Texas, that was very good. That was pretty much on point, and the Michigan highlights was pretty much almost on point if the whole game was the score practically. So, yeah, anywho, the thing that was interesting was SP Plus came through in the end, so I just want to show people these like are point margins, right? I have their if I was they're ranking them in the game, I have them here. And then you can see I have the ranking here. So the interesting thing was Michigan is very good on special teams. Like if I was to sort, this is why I like using this. Is that if I was to sort, Michigan's supposed to be second, so their special teams didn't show up. They're supposed to be as good as Bama's pretty much, and theirs probably played like at a 93. Because the special teams like really like actually played worse than a 93. But if you could tell, it's supposed to be a +2 uh, margin that they're supposed to gain, and really they lost 1 point because of their special teams. Because if you look at their like I was at their overall, if you look at the overall, where we come back to, Michigan's supposed to score 32 points a game against the average team. That's supposed to be the point margin. So that would be Cal. Cal is the average team, technically. Where's Cal? They're somewhere around here. Yeah. Or it was Cal. Who is it now? Louisiana. Yeah, Cal around there. Think of it like, yeah, Cal, New Mexico State, Fresno State, Louisiana, and or Nebraska. Nebraska is the average team. There you go. So you see what the average team is. It's a 5-7, 6-6. Fresno State, because of their league where they play, they're 8-4, but that's the average team. So Michigan at 32 points, and Bama at 23, and Florida State at 23.7, 32.1. That's pretty much an 8 point, what, like 7, what was it? 9 point, yeah, 8 point favorite, we'll say. And yeah, they lost the 1.3 points because of, the missed field goal and that, and came out with the 7 point win. So pretty much on standard, like if one of your units don't show up, then that's what happens. But it was special teams that show up. So the game, as long as these other two hold still, they only would lose three. They lost the 3 points, 4 points. They lost. That's pretty much it. And it really only just cost them a point in the end. From they could have went over. They played bet. Technically, the offense and the defense played better than the their SP plus, and yeah, there were some missed opportunities on both offense and I guess maybe defense as well. But it was really the special teams that hurt them, and get all props to Bama for that one. But you could still see whether it was Florida State or Bama, it would have been pretty much the same game because Florida State is a point less better on offense than Bama, but they give up a they give up a point less on defense. So that's where it comes in, right? Like, yeah, you would kind of rank Bama, I guess, a little bit higher because they're Bama, but now looking at the game, it would probably confirm that they're the same team because when people are thinking Bama, they had them as more of a field goal kind of game, and yeah, it was tight, but the 7 points still held. Like it wasn't like at the end Michigan came down and bulldoze their way into the end zone. So, like, yeah, it took the sleeping bear a while to wake up, but sometimes that's what it's like too. Yeah, you are gonna get Bama's best effort. They're not gonna give it to you. So it's like being a good boxer. You have to be able to absorb punches as well as give them, because you can't just punch in a flurry and let somebody rope a dope you. You want to rope a dope the other team, and then Michigan came on at the right time. You know, you would always like to uh, get the game done in regulation, but you know what? That was some good extra workout for the championship game, to like really get the, everything going. So if I was to leave the game, if I was Michigan, then I would leave the game. I would want to leave the game like that. But you could go down, and then you can see after Florida State and Bama, there's a little bit of a drop off by 4 points. Even like 4.6 points drop off, 4.5 point drop off to Notre Dame from 8 to 9. So Texas is not bad, but Texas is not Michigan. You know what I mean? Like Texas's defense, like yeah, they're top 10, but like Michigan gives up literally a touchdown and two touchdowns and a field goal less practically, we'll say. Like 17 points less. So wipe out 17 points from Texas, from what's it called? From Washington score right then and there. Wipe out Texas. That's it. Wipe it out from Washington. Technically, like they're not. Like yeah, they're gonna make some plays. Like you can move the ball against Michigan at certain points in the game, but that D line is when it comes for you. And I think like again, like I said, going in that overtime, it it kind of like those extra like little reps you need. It's like that's an extra little workout, and coming out on top, and then you get a chance to prepare again. Michigan will be prepared. Michigan will be prepared. You can mark my words on that one. Both teams will be prepared. Some teams should just take the knee and get on the bus and do your interviews, warm the bus up, do your interviews, and get home. Because it's the smartest play in football. It's to avoid injuries like, maybe he's there, Dylan Johnson's okay, but why even bring that up? Why even waste a week trying to rehab when you're going for a championship? You don't want to be in that position at all for a championship. Against any team, against Georgia, against Bama, against Texas, against Oregon, you don't want to go into the game with questions about if your back is going to be healthy. You want him to like, be preparing to like give 110%, not trying to get him up to like 80. That's pointless. So I take the knee. Like, like great coaches, you don't have to tell them these things. And I guess, like sometimes you have to learn the hard way, and we'll see. I hope the kid's okay. But you can see from 32 to Michigan, you have Washington at 18 over the average team. Now they are over like what is it, 6 points to Texas, but that's pretty much in their range because this is like that team that like you can upset these teams. These teams have certain flaws. Even Penn State. Penn State has certain flaws in their teams. Ohio State in kind of in that same position because the elite teams are up here, and to get one of these teams, you need to be one of these teams. You need to be in the 23s because there's only so much margin you can make up in the points. Like that's how you uh, get the upsets. Like there's only so much points that your team can make up, and you have to be playing your best. So you can see like Alabama at 23 and Georgia at 29. They just had to make up that, what, 6 points? Yeah, 6.2. They just pretty much had to make that up and score three more points or whatever it was more than they in the game, and that was that. So if I usually like if you can get within to a touchdown margin of victory, like you're doing pretty good. Now Washington does have an explosive offense, but 14-point margin, like yeah, that's that's not something that's easy to overcome, and it starts with the defense because you can see offense like uh, don't mind Kent State at the top there. I don't know. It always sorts that out weird. At the minus 26, it always puts them first. But offense, you can see they're top four, top five. Yeah, top four. And because for all the other teams, it's whatever. But for at least the championship teams, it's SP Plus still really holds up fairly well. Um, so you have Washington, like they have the number one offense, but it's on defense where they get hurt, where they really drop. So you can see Penn State, yeah, Michigan's the best. Then you have Iowa. Then you have Ohio State. Then you have Penn State, and you can say, oh well, how is it that so and such happened in the bowl game? And it's like, well, Ohio State definitely showed up in the bowl game. Their defense and um, Penn State, their defense was a lot of it relied on Chop Robinson and his ability to get pressure. So if you're not playing against that guy, you're not playing really against the full Penn State defense. Like other guys would be able to get pressure, but where the his tackling ability, his speed, yeah, he's a lot to handle. Like Michigan, I think was securely comfortable covering Bama's ends because Chop Robinson's on a whole another level kind of thing. Like the way he moves off the ball is unreal. Yeah, but then we have to go to the bottom because these are all the bottom feeders. So then you can see the this is like points you give up. So Michigan gives up pretty much a touchdown. Iowa would give up 8 points. Their defense, like sometimes they're it with things points their defense gives up is because of this. Their offense puts them in terrible situations. 127th, like you saw, like they just can't move the ball, and then there's only so much you can do. Like there's only so much your punter can do if you can't move the ball at all. Yeah, it's I was the hardest team for this game to try and pin down because I don't even think it can understand how a Power Five team could be so bad on offense. But that's a whole nother thing. Um, yeah. So yeah, if we go down, you could see like Penn State at 9.5, pretty much a touchdown and a field goal, and then Georgia. So like there's a little gap there, and then there was a this is from the season. So there's a 3 point difference. Then you can see like there's Wisconsin, Nebraska, um, and Wisconsin came to play. Like once you gave Luke Fickle those other practices, they came to play. Like but one thing you don't really see here, what's so far is what you don't really see a lot of. Yeah, that's right. You don't see a lot of elite Pac-12 defenses. So then the first one you get to is Oregon, all the way here. Or no, sorry, UCLA, and I don't. Well, Oregon didn't play UCLA, I can't remember what the score was or how the UCLA game went, but it's still like you're talking like a whole different league here. Now we're into 18 points we're giving up. That's almost 20 points we're heading into here. And Oregon, they give up 20 points to the average team. That's Maryland levels. And Oregon's a better offense than Oregon's rated a better offense than what than Washington. They're first still somehow, even though they lost. But yeah, you can see Washington's here. 82, 45th on defense, giving up 23 points per game. So yeah, that you can add those up however you want to like them. Touchdowns. That's pretty much 24 points right there. So that's 3 touchdowns and a field goal. That's what their defense gives up to the average team. Okay, so like how SP plus would work is you'd go back to regular, and yeah, that 32 points you subtract it by Washington's 18, and you're left with it's like 13 points. Excuse me. You're left with 13 points. So I'll just like what 18.6, 32.1. So yeah, it's about 13 points. We'll say 13.5 something. Yeah, 13.5. We'll go with that. So that's 13.5. That is a pretty big gap. And remember what I was saying, for an upset, you would like to start within the 7 points region. So if you're a Bama, it would have been hard for even Bama. Like you saw, like with Bama, it's hard for Bama to reach up and get, but they're sort of like in the range of Georgia, so they can get to Georgia. But it's like Michigan was just out of their reach, and that's because of like good coaching. So good coaching can make up for a 7 point difference. Excuse me. So that's sort of how like contextually you look at it. And SP Plus held up for the most part, because even when I put the Washington's in that Texas is in that strike zone for Washington. They're in that 7 points. They're in that touchdown, and their offense is good enough to get into that range. And I guess you could say Oregon's they're good enough to like actually get the 8 points. Or what? No, this is actually in the 7 point. Like Oregon's right in that seven in there as well too, because it's there. Yeah, 18.6, 18.7. So technically, a LSU with Jordan Travis could. Is it Jordan Travis? Sorry. Um. Oh man, I just woke up, so the names are escaping me. But with their starting quarterback, I'll just go with that. Um. Gosh, why does it? Jaden Daniels. Can't remember. I'm like, why can't I remember the Heisman Trophy winner's name? That's terrible. But yeah, Jaden Daniels. So LSU with Jaden Daniels could technically punch up and take out of Oregon, because you're within that. You play a good game. Your defense comes to like if your defense plays up to, even if it just plays up to your 82 and you well coached game, don't mess up on special teams, or you can get that 7, you can make up that 7 point difference. and maybe like get 14 points. But as you can see, even with Texas, like they only got 12 points. They only made up the 12-point margin. So can they get another what? What's that? Another 8 points, and then to win another. So we're at 12. We're at 12 points to 8. Sorry, yeah, no, sorry. Let's do the math over again. So Washington. So they reached up, got 6 from Texas, and then they'd need to get another 8. So 8 and 6. That's 14, pretty much. We'll say. And then they need to get 14 plus points. Here's the other thing too that I noticed was like, well, they did play a common opponent, and that was Michigan State, right? So, uh, what was Michigan State's um, record? Terrible, and I think it was like a 42-10 or victory over Michigan State or something like that, and then Michigan put 55, nothing killed them. Like that's the difference. Like, yeah, you let Michigan State score, and we scored. They score nothing against Michigan. So that's just like the SP plus rabbit hole that you go down when, and it holds true for the most part, because Bama and Michigan 8 points, yeah, 7 points, and Michigan lost some on from their special teams, cost them a point, 7 points. Special teams, when you're a good team, special teams doesn't hurt you as much as if you're a bad team. If you're or an like special teams might, like if you're a minus point nine here, that can hurt you as much, like a lot less than if you were like up here having bad special teams. Like for Oregon, having bad special teams, I guess, did cost them. It'll cost you in big games if you're not in the plus. If you're in the minus, and because here's the thing, it's not that Michigan's special teams is played bad. Well, they did play bad, but at least they didn't play like it didn't devastate like the team. Like, yeah, there was the fumble, but even like the last fumble would have probably killed the team. But it's the special teams are still good enough to at least you're on the 1 yard line and you have possession, you can win the game. You don't lose on a safety because that would have been terrible way to lose the Rose Bowl. That would have been almost felt like the Michigan State punt. That would have been up there. That where the kicker misplays the punt and the punter misplays the snap, and yeah, it's they take it back, and I think they score there. It was terrible. You don't want those ones in the Rose Bowl. You don't want to win up those at that time, and you have to build the momentum. And Michigan did that to their credit, because when they came out in the second or in the overtime period, oh, it was like they meant business. And Mason Graham, oh my goodness, yep, he is gonna get paid indeed. He is gonna get paid for sure. But as you can see, the question is, will the Vegas line at 4, or what is it now, 5.5, hold up? Because this one held up, and you notice right at the end, the whales came in, and cleaned up, and everybody wants to know. Oh, I wonder why. Like I wonder why the whales cleaned up. Well, there you go, right? Because they know something you don't. This is sharp business right here. They say, "Oh, the sharps came in at the end." Yeah, the sharps came in at the end because they know something's up, and then right then and there, right at the peak, they know that the odds are perfect. The odds are perfect to sow. Like the hype is so seeded into the game now that that if a sharp makes a bet, Vegas would think that they're crazy to a certain degree. It seems. You know what I mean? So, yep. This is SP plus Magic. Bill Colony, Bill Colony, Bill Connolly is He sort of has like I don't know if this would work for college football for NFL because I believe NFL might be a little bit too. I don't know what's the word. The margins are a little bit too tight compared to like college. Like I think in the NFL every team would be like from 32 to 20, you know? So I don't know how you would. I guess you it could work, but uh, those margins would be super like among the 32 teams between like 32 to 20. Like that's what you would be dealing with. But like if you're spreading it out between 144 or 34 teams or so, then it's a lot easier to do this because there's a lot more like margin between like there's a lot more spread between how much each teams you can see like there's the different zones like you can see like Michigan kind of is really on the a little tier by itself and you would need to technically be a Georgia to to fully threaten them cuz Ohio State did have their chance to and you saw that but yeah they won by what 6 points yeah they won by 6 points that's what SP plus says that's what kind of happens that's what they can get that's how close they get to and it goes down the list so Bama played good so they shaved a point that's what the goat does the goat can shave a point he almost gave his team a chance, but sometimes you can make up the difference with good coaching, good scheme, great wide receivers, as we see, like with with Texas and Oregon against Washington. Like you can see, they were in that strike zone, and it wasn't like they came out like Washington's gonna have to score more than they have in the past 10 games or whatever the record is 9 games that they've won the past 9 games by 6 or less in a row or less than 10 points or something like that so they're gonna have to do something to win the game that uncharacteristically they don't do because they're to SV plus which is pretty much holding up they're pretty much a 14-point underdog on a neutral field. So, yeah, I guess take that for what it's worth. And be careful of the narratives. Be careful of the hype when you're putting money on the line. Alrighty, I'm signing out. I hope you learned something. I truly do because, yeah, like I said, when did the big money come in? Right at the end, right as the hype came. What did they know? Probably they knew this. because nobody talks about SP plus. Well, now Michigan's number one on FPI. For, I don't know why. Anyways, I'm out of here. Bye.